So this is the part where you actually get a chance to talk to somebody, whether it's over the phone or it's sitting down at a table. It's tough because you're really on stage. It's hard not to go into these things thinking, oh my God, I'm under a microscope. They're going to look at, they're going to notice everything, you're going to notice everything. You get really freaked out and you start to sweat and you can't find the right words and you fidget in your chair or you just stammer and you just, at the end of it you feel like I'm an idiot. They have no idea that I'm not an idiot because I just got so nervous and so wrapped up, I didn't know what I was doing. One way to stave off that nervousness is to admit that yes, while it is about you, try to make it about them. Try to make it about the employer. Try not to be so self-aware, so self-focused about everything you're doing to make it more about them and the problem that they have and the solution they're looking for, which hopefully is you. When I sit down to meet with job candidates, whether they're interns or they're full-time positions, the bottom line is I've got a problem. I've got a need that needs to be fulfilled, and I'm looking for the right match. So if I've got a candidate on the other side of the table and they're empathizing with that, they're understanding what my need is, and they're showing that they're making it about me and not so much about them, then I feel like we've got a real opportunity here. So in addition to kind of staving off some nervousness that you might have, it also helps you keep focused on the right things in the job interview, which is if this is what they need, I have to show them that I'm the solution to what they need. And if you're making those kind of navigations in your thought process, then you're probably on the right path. I often ask the question at the end of the interviews, we're lucky to be talking to a lot of qualified candidates, but now here's your opportunity to tell me, why should I pick you? Give me your sales pitch on you. And sometimes I get people that say, well, because I'm really dedicated. Yay! Well, everybody's dedicated, hopefully, Give me something concrete that says, I've got a skill set in this, and this that matches what you need, and hopefully throughout the interview process, you've been able to figure out what their priorities are, and then you show how your skills and your abilities and your backgrounds meet those priorities, and you're able to tie those two things together and paint the right picture. The other thing about interviews is to anticipate likely interview questions, to prep for them, and prep genuine answers to them. It's not that hard to figure out what they're going to ask you. And if you find yourself going into an interview saying, I have no idea what they might ask me, well, you have not spent any time preparing for that interview. Because the first thing, the easy knockoff question is, tell me about yourself and your experience and as it relates to this job and why you're interested in this job or this opportunity. You should be able to articulate that, no problem. That's a really good stepping off question that a lot of interviews will start with. And then they'll go into things like if the job expects you to do some sort of directing or leading others, they're probably going to ask you a question about leadership. What's your leadership style? What's important to you as a leader? Or they'll ask you to give an example of when you provided leadership to others or when you managed a task. They might ask you things about, if the job says that it's handling multiple projects on competing deadlines in a rapid, fast-paced environment. Well, they're going to ask you, how do you handle multiple projects that have deadlines that might conflict with each other? How do you keep yourself organized? Things like that. It's not really all that mystical. If you take the job description and kind of break it down and you look at, well, what questions would you ask if you wanted to test these different characteristics? So think about those and then build genuine answers that you've thought through. You may not have them word for word, verbatim, but you have a construction for that answer. So it comes off as being genuine and spontaneous, but also well thought out because you've anticipated it. The other thing is that when they ask, do you have any questions? They have some intelligent questions prepared as well, and ones that aren't self-serving. Like, yeah, do I really have to come to work every day? Or do I really have to wear a tie? Or, anything like that. Ask a question that's probing about their industry. That says something like, well, if I was to be in this job, what do you think would be one of the top priorities that you would want me to take on? But to me, that's interesting. I would welcome that question. Or if they say, I've read this about your company, how is that going to impact this project or whatever? So again, something that isn't showing, you're not trying to show off, you're trying to show that you've done your homework and that you're engaged. Because that's really what it is. It's really about engagement. One of the things that I look for in interns and job candidates is I want somebody who is intellectually curious about the work that they're going to do. It just doesn't mean they're going to do the work, but they're going to think about it. They're going to think about the process for that work. They're going to think about how could that job be done better, or what can I learn from that task and apply it to this next task. Because a lot of times people get into things, and especially entry-level jobs or even internships that seem to be kind of a task after task, grind, grind, grind. But even if that may be the case at the beginning, if you approach your work, whatever it is, with the intellectual curiosity about it, then that will give you an edge that a lot of other people won't have and can't take the next step in their career. That intellectual curiosity about their work. Again, just like on your resume, be honest and be realistic. Make sure that you paint a very realistic picture of what you've done. And if you think that by painting a realistic picture it's not very impressive, then you can take that as an example of your capabilities and then apply it to a bigger example and say, well, this is, what I learned in this small group project where I was only leading 2 other people, and it was just one part of a grade. I learned a lot from that, and here's how I would apply that little capsule of learning into a much bigger project. That doesn't excuse the fact that you had a small example. What it shows is that you kept that small example realistic, and you're taking that and you're applying it to something that's bigger, maybe more real world, a little bit more impressive. The other thing that that turns me off in interviews is when people say, I'll do anything. I just want to get a job in this industry. I'm so excited. I just want to get my foot in the door. I want to get started. I don't want you then. I want you to do the job I'm trying to hire for. That's what I want. Yes, you may have aspirations to go and not do that job after a while. If you're a good, capable person, that's what should happen. But for right now, I want you to be very excited about this job. I don't want you to think that it's just a foot in the door, and then as soon as I'm in there, my head's going to keep spinning around. I'm going to be looking for whoever else is hiring or who has a more sexy internship somewhere else because I don't want to do the mailroom for the next 3 years. If you're going to do the mailroom, I want you to commit to being the best mailroom person ever, right? And then you can go from there. You can use that as a proving ground. But that whole I'll do anything, well, then you're not going to do anything as far as I'm concerned. And maybe that's just me being a bit of a pessimist. People say, but I'm very enthusiastic, I'm very eager, I'm a hard worker. Well, who isn't? You have to find something else that's going to distinguish you from others than just those things. Those are all just kind of platitudes. They're pretty empty, and they're almost a given. Yes, you want a job. I get that. Why else would you be here? But convince me that you would be the right fit for this. You'd be the right person for this job.